I just woke up and I'm already seeing these posts of the fandom seething, and I've already seen more than my fair share, so I'm not going to waste your time here and just tell you right off the bat that Japan is doing much better things with Godzilla than the US ever has. Japan has a better understanding of the character than the US, and this makes sense because they created the character and Japan takes writing more seriously than the US.
We interrupt this segment of the video to inform you that the last part of that sentence is not necessarily true. Japan has a longer history when it comes to writing and literature. But this doesn't necessarily mean they make good movies and TV shows more consistently.
If you don't know me by now, hi, I'm Blackaroonie, your local zoomer asshole with an autistic affinity for the alpine amphibian. Yes, Godzilla is technically amphibious. Godzilla -1 hit theaters on December 1st, and it was an instant smash hit. I watched it first opening weekend, and let's just say, clean up on aisle 7K, if you know what I mean.
There was a ghost! This ectoplasm! Did you see the ghost? It ran through here, it slimed me!
You son of a bitch!
Oh, that wasn't me, that was a spooky ghost!
This movie was everything I've ever wanted from a Godzilla movie, and more. And if you know me, you know how true this sentiment is. This movie will go down as the best Godzilla movie of all time because it does everything right. The writing, the balance between humans and monsters, the themes, the world building. Obviously it has its problems, but they're so few, far between, and inconsequential that they barely affect the movie in any way. Godzilla fans, of course, accepted it with open arms and glazed it dry, and rightfully so. Even the most media illiterate people instinctively recognize great filmmaking. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. The problem, however, is the fact that they've done the same thing with Shin when it first came out, and people often hold the original in high regard, but despite all of that, they somehow don't employ the instinctive ability to recognize a good movie by distinguishing between that and a bad movie, i.e. they place movies like King of the Monsters right next to movies like Shin. Do you know what it's like seeing the most beautiful work of art crafted with elegance and care, which was made while taking into account the highest possible standards of quality, and seeing it compared to a banana taped to a wall? You might as well just projectile shit on a canvas, rinse it with a jet stream of piss, and puke on it for good measure, then sell it at an art gallery only for activists to throw a can of beans at it. If anything is just as good as anything else, why continue making art? Why continue teaching it? I make art. I might as well just kill myself if my art is just as good as a child doodling on a paper. -1 is infinitely better than any Godzilla movie released over his entire tenure, and that's not an exaggeration. In fact, being better than the Godzilla movie is what you would call a low bar, but -1 went above and beyond. Extremely well written, not too bad looking for the minuscule budget for CGI with some gaps here and there, but it's not that bad. Well realized characters and only 3 contrivances that I can think of. Just 3 counts at 1, 2, 3. And they're not world breaking, neither do they destroy character. It's mainly just logistic issues, but they're so far between that you don't notice them until you start thinking about it, which is how you usually find out about contrivances, but that's about it. And I'm tired of hearing this point over and over and again and again. But for a movie that is made for less than $15 million, this movie is absolutely incredible. This is a Godzilla movie we don't deserve, but the one we need right now. Although I have to wonder if this movie came out several years too late, because the fanbase is so brain-rotted by the monsterverse that they're now demanding we accept Godzilla x Kong and Monarch Legacy of Monsters alongside it. Godzilla fans have been eating good, they say. My brother in Christ, you have been eating feces. Radioactive sulfuric feces. Monarch breaks continuity several times, shoehorns in characters and events in which they don't belong, and they don't act how normal humans would, which, in a show marketed as a grounded and realistic take on the monsterverse akin to how 2014 handled things, that is a pretty big sin if you don't understand verisimilitude. It has unlikable characters played by charmless actors save for the big names like Wyatt and Kurt Russell, and overall the only redeeming quality is Godzilla, and even then they can't keep him consistent to its in-universe predecessor. And the last Monsterverse project was Godzilla vs. Kong. We will get there when we get there. I can't say anything about this movie without it taking 3 hours explaining everything wrong. I promise I'll finish my long man, okay? It just takes time. And then we have the trailer for Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Oh, look at this. This is not a real movie. This is not a real movie. This is a cartoon. This is a cartoon. You have these two running like people. You have Godzilla and Kong running like people. These are not real animals. These are not animals that the movie would try and make me believe are real. These are not. No, this is my suspension of disbelief. This just killed a part of my suspension of disbelief that I didn't even know I had until I lost it right now. They're running like people. They're... Why? Why would you do this to me? Godzilla fans have been eating good. After starving for 7 years and developing intense oliguria, you have been fed a bowl of dino nuggets. You are emaciated and have Stockholm syndrome. You have absolutely not been eating good. Raise your standards for the love of God. Demand better movies. -1 was a wake-up call telling us to ask for better movies. Don't you want good movies? Don't you want monster movies to be taken as seriously and be praised as -1 was? Do you not feel enriched from watching -1? Do you not feel like your life and outlook on it has been improved? Did it not provide not just a good spectacle, but a deep story worth examining? Are you not entertained?
Well, why can't we have a dope spectacle too?
No, I am sick and tired of this question, so I'm going to ask you, the viewer, if you're a Godzilla fan, why should we have a stupid monster movie? Why? For what purpose? What makes a stupid variety just as good by an objective standard as the smarter movies? I'm talking plot, substance, character work, themes, the reason for the fights, what the implications are, everything. Why?
Oh, I don't care about any of that. I just want to see the monsters fight.
People than just you watches these movies, and you are in the minority. It's just that you're very loud and obnoxious. Why do you think Godzilla is still considered niche in the zeitgeist? Now, I am an advocate for gatekeeping, and I think we let in the wrong people into the franchise. Children. But if we want the right people to enter our franchise in order to improve it, we have to start impressing more people with good movies, not roller coaster rides. Like the movies all you want, but in terms of objective quality, the fanbase has been dying for good stories. They're just in denial about it. Stockholm Syndrome. Apparently, there's been a battle between the fanbase, a civil war, if you will. One on the side of Toho, another on the side of the Monsterverse, and some people don't want there to be a fight and accept everyone equally. And let me just rip off the band-aid and tell you that both the Monsterverse advocates and the pacifists are wrong, every last one of them. The reason why the Monsterverse side is wrong is because the movies that they defend are absolute garbage in terms of plot, writing, character, all of it. And I wish I could go deeper into detail, but that would take more time than I have. Just know that videos on the subject are coming. But what about the pacifists that want a middle ground? Well, I've already covered that too, sort of. By allowing both, we allow mediocrity, and suddenly there's no distinction between a movie like Shin and a movie like King of the Monsters. We don't have standards, and thus conversations around the media become dull. Matter of fact, the conversations surrounding Godzilla are already dull. They have been for several years now. If you go on Reddit or Twitter, and I beg of you, do not under any circumstance go to either of those platforms, and go to the communities where Godzilla is the focus, you'll see that the conversations vary between these 4 types. 1. What do you guys think of X movie / X monster / monster design, or which X is your favorite? Number 2. Wouldn't it be cool if X monster showed up in X movie? 3. Look at this cool thing. 4. Look at this leak. And that is just absolutely dull because, well, there's nothing much to extract from the Monsterverse save for the same 4 movies. There are some exceptions though, here and there, but they're so few and spaced out throughout time that, well, they're almost inconsequential. But ever since -1 came out, conversations around Godzilla have been more lively and substantive than they've ever been. And this happened too when Shin Godzilla came out. Are you starting to see the pattern here? And don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying that there aren't conversations around Godzilla when a new movie comes out. I'm saying that the quality of the conversations reflect the quality of the movie, and the quality of conversations around Godzilla -1 have been pretty good. So yeah, I'd say that's very telling. Godzilla vs. Kong irreparably broke the Monsterverse, as if King of the Monsters didn't already break it enough. And knowing Wingard, I think he's gonna finish destroying the whole damn thing. I say this because there are still ways to fix the Monsterverse, which I will touch upon in my GVK videos, but this new movie might end up ruining those small chances of that ever happening, so there's nothing left to lose. So what do I say?
Let them fight.
It's embarrassing that a less than $15 million movie has a more substantive thing to say than a $200 million blockbuster. Why is that the case? Why does that keep happening throughout multiple franchises?
I'll tell you, cupcakes. This is an industry built on perception rather than fact, run by businessmen who only understand numbers and don't have a clue about what's good and what isn't. So the key is to be perceived as good by being associated with the biggest and best numbers. Meaning if you have no talent, you can buy credibility. In essence, creating the illusion of quality by spending the most money.
Wow, how'd you learn so much in only a day and a half on the job?
I was looking for a strip joint and wandered into a Writers Guild meeting by mistake. Pissy little bunch, no wonder they're not allowed on the set.
Also, notice when you ask anyone in the fandom, why do you want this? Why do you like this? You know, common sense questions. They never say anything conclusive. They never have a good enough answer save for, I don't know, it just looks cool, lol, or it's just that I like it, LMAO. It's all circular reasoning that says absolutely nothing. It's purely thanatonical, and I get it, Thanatos is ingrained in the human psyche, but that resides in our most primal urges, and we know better. We're civilized, ladies and gentlemen, not some ooga booga cavemen. We're better than this. So, do I think the fanbase splitting is a good thing? If I'm being honest, yes. More people are waking up and exploring the concept of media literacy, and they're actually learning the value of good writing, and this was all thanks to -1. I strongly believe that film was the shift the franchise needed, a proper steering into the right direction. I think we're headed for a Godzilla renaissance of the high quality variety. At least in Japan anyways, the monsterverse is currently in its dark ages whether you believe it or not. I'm not here to tell you what to like. What I am here to do is tell you what is good and what isn't, based on the standards I abide by, something you can do too if you learn the ropes of writing and media literacy. You can do with that information whatever you like. You can wipe your ass with this video for all I care. But if you want to see more good Godzilla movies, then I recommend investing in Toho's plan for Godzilla, since they've been trying to find their footing for a while, and I think they finally found it. It might take a long time, it might not ever come the same way -1 did, but it has the potential to be better. There are so many ways to expand on the story of -1, and if they do, you'd want to be a part of it. I know I do. We should lift up the Godzilla movies that are good, the ones that improve mood and boost energy. Stories of any kind can achieve that if they're good. Set off an upward spiral, clarifies the mind and produces momentum, that bulletproof coffee in the morning that gives you the energy you need. Movies with structure and rhythm. Movies you would instinctively recognize as art without having to use loopholes or mental gymnastics. Movies that serve as good maps for navigating art. Movies in which the sweat, tears, and struggle are evident. Movies that wish to be canonical and hint at forgotten values. The ones that empower life and believe in beauty. The ones that try and produce beauty. Because art is man's divine right and terrible duty. Without art, culture dies. And Godzilla is capable of all those things and more if we just let him, if we just give him the chance. And in the future we can look back once the story ends once and for all and say, damn, we really had it all.